All right. Let's go ahead and dive into the first episode of the Jordan Rules podcast. All right. So, on this podcast, hosted by myself, I'm going to be diving into a different realm of things, more specifically the sports industry. But I feel like I'll be able to talk about other things like life, relationships, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of old dudes got podcasts and they just sit on them Jones and bash women all the time, and that's weird. But then there's also dudes that talk about sports that don't know what they're talking about. So, yeah, we're going to jump right into this thing, man. Former Division I basketball player, played in the MEAC, a graduate assistant coach there, currently a high school coach at, in my opinion, the best high school conference in basketball. Yeah. So, just a little bit of background about myself before we dive into that. I just think that I saw a lot of things in college and last year and then this past year as a coach, like just gained a different perspective, different appreciation for the game of basketball. But this podcast isn't about to be strictly hoops. Like, it's a lot of on the basketball side, like I could just dive into just the realm of hoops, but I feel like I'm knowledgeable in a lot of different realms of sports. And on top of that, I'm more than just, a basketball guy. Football is pretty interesting, and I'm a baseball guy. I like the lockout, the issues they got going on over there. There's a lot of different things going on. So to just narrow it down to just hoops would be, in my opinion, a little constricting to me. So what I'll do is maybe, depending on how this episode goes, how content goes in the future, maybe I'll do like one day of the week is hoops. One day of the week is maybe like other sports and then other life things and stuff like that. It just depends on, how often I can get content out. So, yeah, I guess the first thing I want to talk about is right now, I think the elephant in the room is I think John Morant right now is better than Derrick Rose during that MVP year. All right? And some people going to think I'm crazy for that, but I just think in this different era of basketball, like now, Derrick Rose was putting up like 24, 25 points a game on a team. I don't know if they had the best record in the league, but they had close to it. And it was an era where it was slowed down a little bit. Like I think he averaged 24 or 25 points a game on a team that only scored 99 points a game. So it's definitely different. I think John Morant do more for the game outside of scoring. I think he's a better passer. I think he's doing more with a less talented roster. Like their second leading scorer is Desmond Bane. And I think that's things that could be, brought to our attention is that the different era of hoops. Like the game is faster now, better athletes. Everybody has to be able to shoot 1 through 5. And I just think, it's just different perspective right now. So, yeah, I'm pretty much sold on that opinion. Like, I think Ja is better than Derrick Rose. Like, I don't think anybody could tell me anything to change my opinion on that, to sway me either way. Like, I'm pretty much locked in on that. Let's see. Second topic I want to talk about, I think LeBron's the best ever. Like, without a doubt. I think, and it's coincidentally because I was going to start last night, and then LeBron was playing, and he had like 40 going into the fourth. And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty much sold on this. Like, I'll record tomorrow. I want to see if he's going to get 60. And he finished with 56. And I think it's unfair that he has to play with some of those guys that he played with now. I think he strong-armed the Lakers and tried to force the Russell Westbrook trade, and Russell Westbrook's horrible, but it is what it is. Sometimes you made your bed, you got to lie in it. So you traded for these guys or want these guys on your roster, and so be it. I think the DJ Augustine acquisition will be good for them in the long run, but I think this Lakers team ceiling is first-round elimination again. And it's just tarnishing LeBron's legacy because, going into last year, he never lost in the first round before. I just think he got dealt a bad hand. Your second-best player is Anthony Davis, and he's in street clothes more than he's hooping, so, it is what it is. But my honest opinion, the future of the NBA is in good hands. So when LeBron, Harden, KD, all these guys start to pack their stuff in and retire and delve into the business world of things and start to be more focused on, real life outside of hoops, it's in great hands. So you think about these guys like Luka, Ja, Trae Young, Jason Tatum, SGA, and I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander doesn't get enough credit because that dude can really hoop. He's just playing, small market. OKC doesn't have, I don't think I've seen maybe 2 national TV games they played, if that. So it's just a different era in terms of how the basketball world is going. But I think the hoops world is in great hands. But again, like I said, we've been fortunate to watch, in my opinion, 3 or 4 of the top 15 basketball players ever are playing right now. You think about Bron, KD, Steph, Harden. You think about some of these guys are the most talented basketball players of all time, and they're playing in this era, and I think we take that for granted a bit. Like, we don't give these guys the appreciation that they deserve. Yeah. Rest in peace, Kobe, but I don't have him in my top 5. I think he's like top 7-ish. If like off the top of my head, top 10 would probably be Bron, Mike, Shaq, Steph, Magic, Kobe, KD, Kareem, Hakeem, and Wilt. I don't respect anybody that has Bill Russell in their top 10. I think that dude was playing in a horrible era of basketball, and he couldn't score. So anybody, like, how you the biggest dude on the floor, you shoot 40% from the field, and I don't care about none of them 12 championships, 10, 11, or however many he won. He was playing in an era with 8 teams, and, yeah, I don't care. So 90% of the basketball before the three-point line doesn't really matter. And I don't mean that to offend any of the old heads that's going to tune into this, but none of the we're thinking about an era. First of all, the paint was wider. There was no 3-second rule. The shot prior to, you know what I'm saying? It's just a different era, and that wasn't high quality basketball. We think about, I want to talk about the growth of women's hoops, right? Before I get too wired up and cooking the old heads and talking about how horrible that era of basketball is, we'll talk about how women's hoops has grown over the past few years. I think the NBA is doing a better job, but not a good enough job of looking out for women's hoops. Like, it should be more WNBA games on television. It should be more broadcasted. Like, the WNBA game doesn't get the appreciation that it deserves, and they put together a high-quality product. And, like, in my honest opinion, like, when I'm teaching people how to play basketball or the intricacies of an offense, I usually show a women's version of it because, like, they're running it the right way. And the game isn't entirely based on athleticism. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think on the men's side of hoops, great play or decent players can be misconstrued as great players just based off athleticism, and that's not fair to it's not the same on the women's side. On the women's side, you have to be more skilled. You have to be able to set a screen. You have to be able to make an open shot in order to win games. And I think on the men's side, guys get away with that because of that. I don't know. I just don't know I don't know why they get away with it more, but it's obvious, you know. I think the NBA should, I've seen an article about potentially expanding, putting another team in Seattle, putting another team in Vegas, and I think that's a great idea. I think Vegas is a great sports city. You know, I think bringing back a team to Seattle, given I don't understand why Sacramento has a basketball team. I think they should just pack them up and move them to Seattle. They're literally have not a speck of relevance on the basketball side of things. I think they should just do away with it. Yeah. So back to what I was saying about the older hoops realm. I think a lot of basketball prior to the incorporation of the three-point line doesn't matter simply because the game it's not the same. You know what I'm saying? Now with everyone being not just one or two guys on the floor and being able to shoot. I think when you think about times like last night, first of all, Frank Vogel's crazy as hell for this. But last night they had Melo playing the 5 for a stretch, And I was like, granted, it was against the Warriors, and they play a lot of small ball too, but that was just bad hoops right there. Like Frank Vogel, it was just cooking up anything. Like that was hard to watch. Granted, LeBron saved them guys and carried them, but you thinking of a guy who's played 19 years in the NBA, making him play 40-something minutes, having to score 50 points in order for you guys to win. It's kind of rough. I mean, and the Warriors choked that game, and they've been horrible since Draymond's been out. But it's like, get my man some help. Get Bron some help. He don't deserve to be playing with them scrubs, man. He hasn't done nothing, but that's just unfair to him. So, but back to what I'm saying about old heads and the game prior to the three-point line. You think about the realm of basketball. You think about everything that we know about the game today. And shout out Steph Curry for modernizing it. You see stuff now, and it blows me a little bit as a coach, like seeing guys coming in the first shot they shoot is a half-court shot in the gym. And I'm like, bro, that's just not – it's not natural. But, like, you can't knock it, man. Like, we had some games we played against a couple of McDonald's All-Americans this year, and some guys just shot us out the gym because it's just, you can shoot. That makes everything easier. So, credit them guys. But, like, the game prior to the three-point line is boring, just running each other over, tackling each other. Like, if I wanted to watch football, to watch the 85 Bears play. You know what I'm saying? That's not basketball. I do think I am pro of the idea of men's college basketball transitioning to quarters. I think right now the reason that they're sticking with the halves, I think you get a couple more media timeouts, you get a couple more like commercial deals and stuff like that, and I think that's just money hungry. And in order for, we say we preparing these guys to play professionally and internationally or putting a high quality product on the floor, why not transition it to quarters? The women's game moves to quarters, and like I said, it's been a lot smoother, So I do think that Adam Silver is crazy as far as the NBA side goes, because they really had like 3 NBA seasons in 24 months. But it is what it is at this point, especially with COVID not so much being an issue anymore. As I think they're taking away mask mandates, taking away vaccine mandates, making things a little bit easier. So, like, COVID, I guess we're just going to have to, like, start treating it as regular, So I just hope everyone out there is keeping safe and not letting it affect you or your loved ones to a major extent. I do want to shout out the NBA and recognizing mental issues and being mentally, being more cognizant of, the well-being of athletes. I think the NBA shout out to them for really starting this movement. I think when guys like DeMar DeRozan and Kevin Love came forward and took initiative talking about their anxiety and stuff like that. But in my mind, one guy that comes to mind, I don't know if this name rings any bells, was a guy who played for Iowa State a while ago, Royce White. And he had suffered from really bad depression, anxiety. And, I think he had a thing where he couldn't fly on planes and stuff like that. So I was like, what is that? I think in all life, if you're really good, like, people let your problems slide. Like, what if a guy like all-star talent was like, I don't fly. We gotta take the bus everywhere. Do they make accommodations for him as opposed to something like that? But in the same spectrum of things, like, Michael Beasley was dealing with the death of his mother, I think, and I think his mom died, and the Lakers cut him like a week later. And it's like, what does professional organizations do, like, in order to really look out? They say we care about these people. They say we do all this and the other, this and the third. What are we really doing? You know what I'm saying? Taking a bit of a turn to things, and I'm going to talk about, the amateur game, back to the high school, college flow of things. I think, does the NIL deals, has that affected the integrity of the game? That's what all the old heads say for everything. They say it's affecting the integrity. Yeah. I'm like, man, let these kids make some money. Some of these people, some of these 5-star McDonald's All-American type athletes, like, if they have the capabilities to represent themselves and broadcast themselves in order to make money, why not? How is it hurting them by, allowing them to use their presence to generate some funds for their family. You talk about people, like, especially for those kids that come from rough environments, single parent homes, or, and they've been in the struggle their entire lives. Let them broadcast their families. You know what I'm saying? Let them step outside of the spectrum and bring some revenue into their family before they, you never know what could happen. You can get hurt tomorrow and on some Inky Johnson type stuff and ruin your whole career, never play again. But say you could have, started to make some revenue on yourself at an early point. I don't think it's bad. I do think that overtime, ball is life, social media. At one point I thought it was cool. Now I think it's weird, man. You see stuff like overtime posting kids traveling and I think they're encouraging bad basketball. I think some of that stuff is horrible. Like, at the same ticket, I think like the overtime elite, I think those kids aren't even really playing real basketball. I think they're just rolling out the balls and just hooping. But it is what it is. I think it's a good thing though. As opposed, if you don't want to finish high school, if you don't want to go to college, you just want to jump right in and make some money. I'm not opposed to it. But when you think about, and I want to take a swing of things back to HBCU sports in general. So I played in the MEAC when I was a freshman in college. I want to say it was like 13 or 14 teams in there. But since then, Hampton left, Savannah State dropped to D2, FAMU and Bethune left, A&T left. So you think about the MEAC has been pretty much decimated. As far as especially like the football aspect thing, I think now they only have 6 football schools. So at some point they're going to have to add in someone, whether you bring up a team from the CIAA or from the SIAC, or like, what do you do? At some point you have to bring up a Division II team to a Division I conference, or bring in another a school that's not an HBCU. Like, what do you do as far as that aspect goes? But it's like, when you think about all this, the grand scheme of things, like, it's taken away from the rich HBCU history. Like, at one point, we talk about 13 HBCUs in the conference. Every arena was packed. It was like, it's a different aspect now. COVID hits, teams are moving to other conferences, and I just think, when you think about over the past few years, over the actual, what positive has happened for the MEAC conference? I think the one thing we can say is that every year, whichever team, like whether it's Norfolk State or North Carolina Central, whoever represents the MEAC on the NIT and the NCAA tournament schedule, like, they're always going to win a game or make some noise in that first round. But my question is, with who is the basketball equivalent to Deion Sanders? We see Deion Sanders, what he's done for Jacksonville State. When is a name like that going to take over a HBCU program and bring them to relevance? Like, you see Mo Williams, like, he was at Alabama State, just took the Jackson State job. And my question is, what is the next, like, superstar name? When you think of an NBA All-Star taking a coaching job, not to knock Mo Williams, but Mo Williams wasn't All-Star for 1 year, even though I really don't think he earned that All-Star appearance. What is the equivalent of Deion Sanders for the basketball perspective? Who takes the first leap and says, I'll do it? You know what I'm saying? I'll take an HBCU job and I'll turn them around. You know what I'm saying? And not to knock, because there's a lot of great names on the HBCU hoop side. You think of guys like Rob Jones from Norfolk. We think of Vail at Central. So it is names. It is some high quality, like, great coaches that could get mid-major, high-major jobs, I think, at some point, if they wanted them. But who takes over a MEAC or a SWAC or, a program and brings them to some sort of prominence? And though, shout out to MEAC though, because South Carolina State did go down to Atlanta and whoop them boys, represent the MEAC well. So, But yeah, so I do think without a doubt that this is the best era of basketball ever. Like I think when you think of guys like Jokic and Embiid, like those are, in my opinion, I think Embiid and Jokic are the two most skilled big men of all time. I mean, shout out Hakeem, but I don't think he was shooting the ball at the level these guys are. I don't think he could pass as well as these guys too. So you just think about that aspect of it. But yeah, we're gonna bring this first episode to a close. I didn't want to get too long with it, especially like an intro episode, trying to get in the swing of things, figure out, based on reviews of how this goes, I'm gonna, how to determine like my upload frequency and what the topics will be.